You'll have to excuse me, even after hearing that story over and over again. Every time. And people need to hear that story. And the stories of women who face this as their future if we do nothing and lay down for the way that this right is being stripped away now. But people need to also hear and see you. Because I have been hearing you and seeing you this last hour or so. And I see the millions of people who refuse to live in the future that was described there. I look at you all in your green scarves. And I see the millions of women and girls who have a future worth fighting for and that we have to be part of fighting for. I look at you all. And I think to myself, I am not going to explain to another generation of young girls and women why the government can come in and turn them into incubators, into things with less rights than corpses. I will not look another generation in the eye and tell them and explain to them that we had class on Tuesday, or I had to take the dry cleaning in, or I had something else to do, or too many people wouldn't come out with me. It's time those of us who care enough about the future and the fate of women stop caring about all the people. Check. It's time those of us who care about the future of women stop caring about all the bullshit. All the people who are caught up in doing nothing and acting with no conscience and what they might think of those of us who do act with conscience. It is time that we do what the women in Colombia, the women in Argentina, the women in Mexico, the women in Poland are doing everywhere and raise all hell. Raise all hell. Raise all hell. And shake people up. And make them confront the future that we will get if we do not take a stand now. Because the future is unwritten. We know who's on the court. Fuck them. Let them worry about us. Let them worry about us. That is what they are afraid of. What you represent. The millions of women who have no future, but a handmaid's future in this system, in this country, if they're allowed to win the day. They are afraid of what you represent. These people who have come out here to shout over you, to shut you up, to intimidate you, these people are part of a movement of violent enslavement of women. Violent enslavement of women. Murdering doctors, bombing clinics, harassing and bullying women away from exercising this right. These are not people who just have a difference of opinion. These are feudal, dark ages patriarchs who are fighting to violently impose the enslavement of all women everywhere. And we cannot allow it. The choice whether or when to have children has to be the choice of the woman. But we all have the choice of whether we're going to lay down for the removal of this right or whether we're going to rise up for abortion rights. We have a choice whether we are going to accept the future of female enslavement or whether we are going to rise up for abortion rights. We have a choice to make of what part of history will you be on? And what will you say to the next generations of women and girls and everybody about what happened when this was going down? Well, let's make a story worth telling about how we not only fought for what was right, but how we won. How we won. That is what we and the people in New York and in the Bay Area and in Texas, the people who are acting together as part of this call from Rise Up for Abortion Rights, that is what we are doing today. We are not just holding a good protest, we're kicking off a struggle that can win. that can actually beat this back because it is not sewn up. They have told you the reason these courts can get away with doing what they want is because they have done it and people have not risen up. Look at Texas. 6 million people, 6 million women having the right to abortion snatched from them overnight. And this country went on like business as usual. What message is sent to these dark ages fascist patriarchs? Except that they should continue to go forward and unleash their hell on women even on an even greater scale. Well, let us become the thing that they are afraid of. The people who they always tell, don't be so angry, swallow your fury, swallow your outrage. Well, let's unleash that shit and pour it out into the streets today, all over the country, and going forward from here. The dozens and hundreds of us today in different cities across this country, going forward from here and calling out to the thousands and thousands to wake up and shake up the millions who are needed to turn this country upside down so that it cannot function as long as women are being slammed back. Let us be the spark that starts the fire. This is what we have learned from the women in Colombia and all over the world. And some of us are old enough, myself included, to have seen times when small numbers of people who were outnumbered and outgunned had everybody out against them, telling them they were wrong, telling them they're too angry, telling them it's not so bad, telling them to just think about yourself. Said, fuck that, I don't care what people are telling me, I know what's right. I'm going to act on my conscience, and I'm going to change everything. And history is full of examples of people who have done that and won. We have a chance to be one of those examples for history today, starting today. Over the next month, this whole city and this whole country needs to be painted green. Everybody needs to see this everywhere so they know if you are feeling this way, you're not alone. And if you are on the other side, it's time to pick a side because the lines are being drawn. And it's not going to continue to be one-sided. These people have been doing this for decades, assaulting this right and building up a whole fascist movement that is woven together with white supremacy, male supremacy, America #1 chauvinism. They believe any change that has given anybody rights has gone too far and threatens what makes America great. And they're determined and organizing with all necessary violence to drag people back to an even uglier version of this capitalist imperialist system. Now look, there are people here who are reverends. There are people here who are socialists, communists, atheists, gay, straight, lesbian, transgendered, non-conforming, all kinds of things. And we should all be together today and going forward. But I am a communist. I'm a follower of Bob Avakian. I'm the spokesperson for the Revolution Clubs, and we're organizing people to fight this fight because of what it means and because we need a better world. Our points of attention say, #2 says, we fight for a world where all the chains are broken. Women, men, and differently gendered people are equals and comrades. This is the world we need to be fighting for. It needs to be long past time that we have to fight against every damn attack on people's rights over and over again. But it is in these times when the possibility to fight for something beautiful could emerge, when things seem the darkest, the most dangerous, the most ugly, the most hopeless. Looking straight into the teeth of that situation, the potential to wrench something totally different and beautiful out of it rests. And that is what we are doing today and going forward. And if you want to be part of understanding what's given rise to this and how we are working to put an end to this system, go see people with the Revolution Nothing Less shirts. Find out about the revolution clubs and how we're organizing to do this. But most of all, let us go forward from today and let us win this fight to demand abortion on demand and without apology. To stop this Supreme Court from being able to rip women's right to control their own destinies and their own futures. And here's the last thing I'll say, sisters and brothers, because it has to be said when you see shit like this. But part of the reason people are not here is because they're afraid of what it means for them if they do take a stand. Now we have to go right back to people and remind them what it will mean for millions and millions of women if we do not take this stand and take to the streets the way we need to. But we also better take very seriously, because these people are violent. These people are seeing the stakes. They see the same thing we see, that there's the potential for two different futures right now. And right now, unfortunately, only they are fighting like hell to move heaven and earth and make sure their ugly future is what's brought into being. We have to show greater determination, and yes, it needs to be smart and not stupid. And we can't be based on something that is ridiculous, outmoded, and archaic. But we cannot tell people lies. It is going to take heroic struggle and sacrifice, and it's fucking worth it. And it's fucking worth it. When you look back at your life, what will it have count for? What will it have mattered for? What will it... Excuse me. What will you look back on and say you did with your life if you just stood on the sidelines while the fate of humanity was on the line? Let's take to the streets and rise up for abortion rights.